It should be post-secondary students who live in San Diego County, and they're into the arts. You know, they're art grants that I will be giving. And I can pick out these people that I want to have grants or scholarships. So that worked out really well, you know, and then time goes on, and then I had got Mylin involved. She has a board that she has appointed, and they meet at my house still once a month. I will probably have maybe one more meeting with them, you know. And now that applications are coming in, they have to decide, is this an art? Like what was karate an art? See? And I think the conclusion we came to was no. Everything that I own today will automatically go into the foundation.
I started doing photography about 20 years ago, so it's been a long time, but I started out actually with a painting background, and I was really into conceptual art, having an idea thought out well beforehand and planning everything out strategically. And when I was introduced to photography, it kind of opened up this other door for me because I felt like I could really portray conceptual ideas in a way that had kind of like a basis in reality, in a way that painting didn't have. I actually heard about the foundation through word of mouth through my printer. I guess about a month later, I got word that I had received the John Chervinsky Scholarship through the Griffin Museum of Photography in Boston. And kind of the stipulation of the scholarship was that I received a grant, and I also received a chance to have a solo show at the museum, which would mean that within 1 month I was going to have to print and frame about 20 photographs and get them to Boston. And so I reached out to the foundation to kind of help me with some upfront costs to be able to present the show in the way that I felt that it should be shown at the right size. And so they really came through for me, and I'm really grateful.
I first heard about the William Mayle Foundation through a family friend who actually worked with Bill Mayle for a while. She knew that I was really artsy and that he had this foundation that would really help me out, and so she referred me to their website. I grew up in a really artsy family, so I have a lot of artistic interests, but the Bill Mayle Foundation primarily helped out with my interests in costume and fashion design. They've sponsored me participating in the Her Universe fashion show for the past 3 years, and their generosity has really been instrumental in my growth and learning in costume and design. Right now I do costuming and design more on a amateur level, but I really am hoping to eventually do a master's in costume history and kind of get a real foundational footing into my artistic pursuits.
There we go.
The William Mayle Foundation has really provided me with the means to pursue all of my artistic and educational interests, and for that I couldn't be more grateful.
For me, art has always been my way of navigating through the world, and I can't see my life without being creative. I've always been drawing, and when I wasn't drawing, I was carrying a camera. And I was always interested in making images. And but one of the challenges when I made the transition to wanting to do films was the issue of funding. And so I've been working on this project called Comics Are Everywhere, which is my first attempt at doing a feature-length documentary. I love comics. I'm a long-time attendee of Comic-Con, but I really love what you can do with the medium. And I realized that there weren't very many films that really explain the culture of comics and how sequential art actually works and how it impacts the artists that devote their lives to this medium because they love it. And so this year marks 9 years of this odyssey. So when I found out about the William Nell Foundation, and especially when I got that wonderful email saying that I had received a grant, I practically jumped out of my seat. One of the things people don't realize about grants that is sort of unspoken is the money is much needed, but equally important is the moral support. You're not alone. There's somebody that is essentially saying, we believe in you. And that's hugely important for any artist in any medium, to have that vote of confidence, to have someone else say, your dream is worth investing in.
I applied to go to Europe this summer to do some art, look at art, and hang out with friends, and it was fabulous. I started out in southern Sweden, went to Denmark, Stockholm, and I ended up in London, and I went to every art show possible. It was wildly great to see people stand in line to see art. The museums were crowded, and I loved it. I can't thank you enough. It was a game changer in my world, because I just needed that kick in the butt to see the value of art and to feel valued to such an extreme. I ended up in Mallorca on a little island, and we went to galleries there. I can't wait to share all my experiences with my students and to do incredible art in the future, which I hope you will all come to the shows. So William Nell Foundation, thank you, thank you, thank you.
So I was in a point in my jewelry practice that I was like trying to change the direction of my work. I mostly work in resin and brass, and I wanted to start experimenting with enameling. So I wanted new equipment that I couldn't afford. So I applied for the grant to get an enamel kiln and all the basic things to start experimenting, and that's what the foundation gave me the grant for. I had taken a course in enameling, but I really, new equipment. As soon as it got, I've been doing a bunch of experiments and trials. I want to first start out with a new collection of jewelry, using maybe mixing the techniques that I already do with whatever I managed to create with the kiln. Do that, and then I want to also do work that's bigger and just more sculptural. So hopefully that will also allow me to do bigger pieces.
My culinary interest started when I was about 2 or 3 years old. I can first recall baking cakes with my grandmother, and she'd let me lick the spoon, and from there, I guess I really just took a liking to cooking. It helped me throughout some of my hardest times within my life, especially within my foster care experience. For many years, I was uncertain about what my future would look like, surrounded by adults who told me I would end up becoming a statistic. High school was difficult. Even though I had a wealth of knowledge and could be successful, it was hard with what was going on in my everyday life. If it weren't for my creative outlets, I wouldn't be able to say that I'm a student at the Culinary Institute of America who will not become a statistic. I saw the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, and as soon as I got there, it just felt right. I've had a lot of help on my journey, and I can safely say that I wouldn't be able to do the things that I love to do without the William Male Foundation.
I am a public artist, specifically working on big installations in public places. I usually work with the community in installing these large-scale installation art projects, and usually involving textile techniques, including embroidery and crocheting and weaving. As a working artist, I was able to actually go to a residency in Iceland, specifically doing textile work. So I've gone to other artists in residencies, but I wanted to go to specifically for my medium and the method that I use. But I really wanted to just delve in, and the residency really helped me just kind of focus on my craft and on my medium, and how do I dig in deeper into my artistic dialogue and like broaden that conversation. There's no professional development, specifically professional development opportunities for artists, and the residencies itself really helped me just grow as an artist. And the foundation helped me financially in actually achieving that. So I'm just very grateful and have the opportunity to be part of this.
I started out in opera pretty late. My background is in gospel and jazz. And I went to performing arts middle school / high school and kind of felt pretty pressured to go off to some big conservatory. So I just didn't apply for college at all and ended up going to community college and kind of switched to psychology and philosophy, but it just didn't feel right. So I switched back to music because classical music was the genre that I was least proficient in. I never knew I could learn so much in opera. I just didn't know much about it, so once I had my first voice lesson, I was hooked. The William Male Foundation has been such a great help to me. They were a really big part in helping me get to Italy. I had my first trip to Italy the summer of 2016, and I went to Florence and did an Italian language program for 3 weeks. It was an amazing experience. It truly was a blessing for me to be able to receive this grant.
I had the honor to receive a William Male Foundation grant, and as a poet, as an Arab American poet, as an idealist, and a woman of color living in America, my poetry really focuses on hyphenated Americanness, what it means to border someone out of and within an identity, and a lot of my work focuses on what exactly it means to live and breathe femininity, to live and breathe borders. What I did with my grant was I received a grant to go to a writer's retreat on the East Coast. I got the opportunity to attend the Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing, where I spent a week solely writing poems, which was really a priceless opportunity, not only just to have the week to write poems, but to have the week to reflect on my craft, reflect on what it is I want out of my poetry, what cohesion and coherence mean to me, what I'm trying to tell my audience, and really like what I want out of my poems now and in the future. Everyone is so supportive, and the sheer investment of faith in my vision, besides the financial support, the realization that somebody believes in me and my craft really was affirming to me, not only as a poet and an artist, but like as an American citizen, as just someone, and especially as a young poet. I'm a freshman at Stanford University, and I am still really in the middle of like honing my craft, realizing what my poetry practice means to me. And it really, I can't express how valuable it's been to me to have a group of people tell me that they believe in me, tell me that they want to see me grow and want to see my vision blossom along with me. I really am, I just cannot express my gratitude enough.
So I feel like I have two parts to my life. One is that I am a landscape and portrait photographer, and the other is I'm an independent curator with the Oceanside Museum of Art. I'm really interested in the intersection of sculpture and photography and speak to issues of place identity in the landscape and how we connect to the landscape. I have done a lot of portraiture work, but I'm finding myself mostly interested in landscape, especially the Southern California landscapes, since I'm from the East Coast, and I'm really trying to figure out my place in Southern California. And I think photographing it has really brought me closer to it. As a photographer, as an artist, I'm often looking for resources in order to carry out my vision. So I did find the grant through their website, and then the process of interviewing was fantastic. I found a very supportive and encouraging committee, which has really bolstered my own confidence. And the granting funding enabled me to purchase the next level equipment in order to carry out my vision, specifically for the work I'm doing now called Hado, which takes place out in the landscape, and it's sculpture meets photography and exploring the issues of place identity. Right now I have a year-long exhibition at the airport of Hado. I also have an exhibition at the University Club of some of the pieces of that work that I made with the funds. And then I've been nominated for a San Diego Orchid Award, which is really exciting. And I do credit this to the William Mail Foundation. The funding really helped me move my work to the next level to carry out my vision.
I am a local performer and choreographer, and I was really excited when I learned about the William Mail Foundation because I was looking into expanding my skill set as a performer, and I really wanted to train in voice and theater. And so I applied, and I was awarded a grant, and I was able to train with a vocal coach and an acting coach. And a year later, I landed my first big gig at La Jolla Playhouse. I was in a swing in Diana the Musical, and now I'm a female ensemble and understudy in the musical All Shook Up with San Diego Musical Theater. Every single day I walk down the street, I hear people say, "Baby, so sweet." Ever since puberty, everybody stares at me. Boys, girls, I can't help it, baby. So be kind and don't lose your mind. Just remember that I'm your baby. Take me, baby, or leave me. Thank you. Actually, before I was a part of the William Mail Foundation, I had no connections, no ties to the theater and music world. And through this process, now I have a bigger, broader performance community here in San Diego. So I'm grateful.
I've been dancing since I was 5. Up until recently, almost strictly ballet. I did ballet every day after school, but as I grew older, it really grew from just being a fun extracurricular activity to really being a passion of mine and something I want to do for the rest of my life. Because of William Mail, I was able to go train with the Kibbutz Contemporary Dance Company in the north of Israel for 5 months. I was drawn to it because I knew I would grow technically through the rigorous training schedule. It was about 10 hours every day. But I was also really drawn to it because it was started by a Holocaust survivor who strove to integrate peace, social justice, and dance. And I had participated in a program called Hands of Peace, which brings together Israelis, Palestinians, and Americans for intensive dialogue. And I really had a profound experience with them and began to really have a passion for conflict resolution. And so this kibbutz seemed like the perfect place for me to begin to understand and discover the ways dance and my passion for peacemaking can integrate. And I want to just continue on this path of integrating my passions and learning about how dance can impact other people and bring people together with diverging opinions and experiences.
I
I have played music all my life. I grew up in a house where music we just did all the time as a family, and I finally went to SDSU as a music major. I was a vocal major in professional studies in music, and so it taught me a lot about business in music, a lot about teaching in music, and I've always been teaching as a part-time job ever since I was 15. I love being able to teach kids and being able to open their minds to new things and open their minds to being creative. And so a lot of times we learn a lot of classical music as well, but I grew up on a lot of improvisation in music, which really inspired a lot of creativity in me and thinking outside of the box. So I love to help people, help kids, help adults start to think out of the box, think creatively, and try new things. They granted me a wonderful sum of money so that I could actually get all of the equipment that I needed to do music here at my studio. I also really enjoy just being able to do different performances, different gigs.
Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who thinks that I am the one. But the kid is not my son. She says I am the one.
I am the one.